Hey guys, good morning. Today's the second day in a row I'm uploading videos. Look at that. You'll have to excuse I didn't shave. I got up and wanted to jump on this before anything else. I end up doing this out of the car because my daughter is using a desk at our little makeshift office, which is in a den and it's kind of open to the rest of the house. And so me yakking away over here on my video is kind of disruptive to their class. So I come out to the vehicle. Even when I come out at night and try and look at the load boards, my son won't leave my side. He comes and jumps in the bed, and he knows when I leave for over the road, I leave during the night. And so that thing where he falls asleep and then he wakes up and his dad's gone, it frustrates him. And so every day he's asking me, "Dad, are you going to leave today?" It's like, "No." Okay. And then when he falls asleep, he chases me down, and he insists on he's gonna lay next to me. And so I don't want to wake him and the wife up to make the videos at night either, even though at night is where you'll see some of the better rates. And that's the biggest thing I'm trying to show you guys when you look at these rates, isn't how cheap some of the Amazon stuff is. We all know there is some cheap stuff. The big thing to keep in mind, guys, is don't book them over 6 hours in advance. Everything just about doubles when you wait. When you look at my videos and we're at the very top, the newest loads have the best rate, and then as the day progresses, they get cheaper, and then by the next day, they get a lot cheaper. And if we look several days, into the future, it's really, really cheap. And so there's no making money booking a load for next Tuesday. There's no making money booking blocks or short-term contracts for next Tuesday. You give up. You cut all the meat off the bone and you walk away with just the bone. And, if you got into this business just to do that, what you're doing is you're ruining it for everybody else. And this is the primary reason why a company as big as Amazon makes it so easy to get on. I mean, in the oil field, not only do we have to meet all of the insurance requirements, we have to be up to date with all of our safety training, what they call PEC training, fit testing. We've got all these different criteria to meet on top of the insurance. And still, someone referred to as a company man has to sign the document and kind of sponsor us to get in. It's a process. And some companies take up to a year to approve you as a vendor. I remember when I first got on with Amazon, I'm like, wow, this was the easiest thing ever. And the first time I looked at their load board, I was disgusted. I was like, holy cow, this is cheap. It wasn't until I figured out how to book their higher paying loads that I was like, okay, I get it. And the more I kind of study how they operate, the more I realize the reason why it's so easy to get on is a bunch of people will get on and immediately start booking the really cheap stuff. And those of us that have figured it out struggle to pick up the scraps, which are paid better, because the new guys are booking up all the really cheap stuff. And it's why Amazon keeps the books open to add new members. You come in and you just enabled your insurance. So you got, whatever it is, $2,000 a month in insurance, maybe a truck payment, and those bills are coming. You need to get moving. So you book the really cheap stuff. That's what's killing us, guys. And if you're researching this, trying to get in, don't fall into that trap, make more money. A simple way to put it is, if you make $500 a day booking these really cheap loads versus being patient and making $1,100 a day, so you can make $2,500 in 5 days, or you can make $5,500 in 5 days booking the more expensive stuff last minute. So do that math. What happens if a day comes where everyone beats you to the punch and you didn't get a load? You still made more money. You still made more money because you're taking loads where you're making over 1,000 a day instead of 500 a day. So if you're doing 1,000 a day, that's 5,000. If you miss one day, you made 4,000, but only burned fuel on 4 days. versus if you're taking the really cheap stuff at $500 a day and you run 5 days, or you even run 6 days, you only made $3,000. Make sense? Run 4 days, make $4,000 at a higher rate, or run 6 days and burn $200 extra in fuel and make less money. That's the logic. I couldn't put that any simpler. If I was a little bit more advanced YouTuber, you know, like right up in here, I'd be putting like a little chart. But that's simple math, guys. Take the higher paying stuff. If you miss a day, so what? Miss that day at $1,000 versus book a day at 500. If you book another 4 days at 1,000, you still made $4,000 versus booking the $500 loads, you know, making $3,000 in 6 days. Simple math. And you burned less fuel, and you wore your tires out that much less. Your investment will take you that much further. Very simple math. Another thing I wanted to touch on real quick, for all the guys interested in box trucks. I know you think box trucks are like the greatest thing since sliced bread. In some markets, it's a good market. Not every market uses box trucks. I can't emphasize that enough. Not every market uses box trucks. Why? Because they're using their own vans to deliver. UPS, about a year ago, Amazon, about a year ago, cut ties with UPS. UPS was delivering a lot of those markets that Amazon didn't have covered with their own vans. UPS and Amazon cut that relationship, and they started using the postal service. That's where Amazon needs the box trucks. Now, Amazon's starting to realize that, you know, these box truck guys are willing to do stuff way cheaper, so they are starting to give them loads where they're moving from one distribution center to another, and they're giving them out really, really cheap. But understand, the box truck market exists because Amazon decided they didn't want to use UPS anymore. So if you think about that for a minute, and you're going to go out and make an investment and buy these box trucks, understand that next year Amazon may decide to give that work to FedEx. Or, you know, in the area where you think you're doing so great, you know, Amazon may decide to add more of their own vans and just cut those routes altogether. And so that's kind of another reason why box trucks don't interest me. You know, in my particular case, I dropped Amazon altogether. In fact, I just got a notice that, you know, because my insurance is about to renew, I just got a notice that I need to upload my new certificate. And so if they don't get it in time, I may not have access to the Amazon load board in a couple more days. I want to say the 17th. And so if I don't upload any videos of it, it could be because they're waiting for my new certificate. It is what it is. Since I don't work with them, I'm not really too stressed. I know my insurance company already sent it. They sometimes take 3 days to review. But I don't haul for them anymore because I make more money other places. And the same way I decided not to haul for them anymore, they can very easily decide they don't need box trucks anymore. The upside for me is semi trucks are very common in the trucking industry. They're the most common item used. I don't do power only. I bring my own trailer. And so it's very easy for me to move my trucks across the country and stay loaded and chase the rate that I want. If you guys are chasing box trucks and you think box trucks are the end all be all, understand that just a couple years ago when UPS was doing those loads, Amazon didn't use box trucks. And they're still working on adding more vans and more independent contractors to make that last mile delivery. Once they don't need the postal service, the route goes away. Consider that. I'm not saying it's not a good starting point. I mean, the investment's cheap, $10,000 to $15,000 if you go find one at auction and you're in business. I get it. Do look at evolving or finding other markets other than just Amazon. Because what's going to happen is in your market, once Amazon figures out how they don't need box trucks anymore, what's going to happen is all the other box trucks you see running with you are going to suddenly flood the load boards in your area, And if you haven't been working those load boards where you have a relationship with the broker, or maybe you've been able to book some direct work where they're keeping you busy, you're going to find yourself out in the cold. The key to any business survival is to always find that one thing that's going to keep you sheltered when the bad weather comes. That's a key component. It's kind of how we've survived. You know, the last oil downturn, we were lucky. We had a set contract. It was a little bit cheaper than I wanted, but we were still able to grow the fleet even when, you know, the last oil downturn happened. This oil downturn, I wasn't so lucky, and I ended up with a parked fleet, and that's why you see me over the road chasing Uber and and CH Robinson and whoever else gives me work. That's why you see me over the road and not, you know, dispatching my trucks locally within 50 miles, you know, making 15 grand a week per truck. That's what put me here. You know, I did not have my shelter place for this downturn. It kicked us in the teeth. It is what it is. So just a fair warning to all the box truck guys. Understand that you should make that a stepping stone, not your milestone. Anyways, thanks for watching. Here comes a clip where we're going to review the different markets. Today we got, sorry, I'm looking away from the camera, but you know, these videos are getting longer and I'm covering more markets, and so I'm trying to be organized and write down all the requests. So here we have Cincinnati, Ohio. Someone requested JFK, which actually all I can do is the city of New York. I can't isolate JFK by itself. Memphis, Tennessee, and Nashville, Tennessee. Someone requested Uber out of Sacramento, and so I did a little section on Uber as well. I don't think Uber is as strong on the West Coast as they are in the Northeast and Midwest. I think that's where their rates are better. It's where they've got some really good contracts. We've hauled some stuff for just under $5 a mile for them, and I've had very good luck with Uber. I'm a fan of them to the east. To the west, you know, they're okay. They're not the best. They're not the worst. Anyways, as always, thanks for watching. All right, guys. So let's dive right into the load board. There is a new update here at the top. Pretty much it's saying beginning March 14th, any rejections made within 6 hours of the scheduled arrival time will be weighed more heavily against your company's acceptance performance matrix. Basically, what they're saying is if you cancel loads within 6 hours, it's going to hit you harder. Honestly, I think you shouldn't be booking loads more than 6 hours in advance anyways. I've explained why a few times. Basically, the price goes up tremendously within the last 6 hours, and those are the loads you want to be booking anyways. If you guys are booking loads a week in advance, you're the reason these rates are so low. You're why everyone says Amazon is too cheap. Amazon's matrix will reward those that are patient and book loads closer to last minute. Anyway, so in no particular order, let's jump into this. We're in Cincinnati, Ohio. Looks like there's a total of 250 matching results. Here we have 572 miles. Oh, let's turn off the refresh because that will make it quite difficult. So 572 miles at $291. You've got $62.85 for a team power only load at $1.58. Another 5,800 miles for $1.67. 6,200 miles for $1.57. 5,300 miles for $1.52. 4,900 miles for $1.72. 5,600 for $1.37. This is now a power only load, 151 miles for $227. There's another power only load, 513 miles at $211 per mile. There's 344 miles at $165. Not really sure why they're asking for a team on that. There's 5,300 miles for 144. There's 263 miles for 279. There's 232 miles for 240 per mile. There's 5951 miles for 147 a mile. There's 5,800 miles for $1.38. There's 5,300 miles at 145. A lot of teamwork out of here. There's 6,400 miles at 135. There's 6,200 miles at $1.30. 5,300 miles at $1.35. There's 156 miles at 241. And we're into Wednesday already, guys. Well, I guess it is Wednesday. Sorry. I'm lost on my days. See what happens when I'm home? There's $1.74. I'm sorry, 174 miles for 223. There's 114 miles for 273. 158 for 2.19 mile per mile. There's $1.14 for 276. There's 1,000 miles at $1.80. There's 5,500 miles at $1.39. There's 285 for $1.95. 4,300 miles at $1.71. There's 263 for $1.93. 6,100 miles for $1.36. 285 miles for $1.95. 3,500 miles for $1.88. 111 miles for 281. There's 154 miles for 215 a mile. A whole lot of team loads and very cheap, guys. Let me there's something a little better. 802 miles, power only for 255. I'm gonna start skipping over some of the power only stuff, or the team stuff, because you guys see where it's at. There's 2,000 miles heading to Henderson, which is basically Las Vegas, at 201 a mile. There's 515 miles for 181 a mile. That's still cheap. It seems to me like you don't have much of a market because they put a lot of it on team trucks. So there's 241 miles at 196. 154 miles at $1.85. Yeah, this is not a great market. It's busy, but it would appear they have a lot of trucks in the area, and so these rates are really cheap. If I was a new startup, I wouldn't be looking at Amazon in this market. Sorry about the robocall there. Let's look at because we didn't see any box truck there. There's 156 miles at 241. There's 174 miles at 223. There's 114 miles at 273. Looks like the box trucks are being paid better than the semi trucks in this market. There's 158 miles for 219. There's 114 miles for 276. That's probably not a bad load right there. There's 154 miles for 185 a mile. 154 for 185. 258 for 168. There's 176 for 205. 196 for 176 per mile. 174 for 183 per mile. 156 for 197 per mile. There's 158 miles for 194. There's 118 for 255. 118 for 256. 158 for 181 per mile. 114 for 226. There's 154 for 185 per mile. There's 154 for 185 per mile. There's 202 miles for 157. 258 for 168 per miles. 176 miles for 181 per mile. 196 for 156 per mile. And I believe these are starting to get cheaper because the timing is further out. We're into Friday now. 174 for 166. 156 for 285. 118 for 224. And 185 for 181 per mile. The box truck market's a little bit stronger in Cincinnati than the truck market is. I think they've killed the truck market with so many team loads because these team guys are willing to do it so cheap. A lot of your little short hauls are probably being done by those team guys on their way out and then on their way back in. So it doesn't leave a whole lot of work for anyone trying to do just local stuff. I mean, why would they pay someone locally, $9 or $10 a mile like they're doing in other markets when they got, these guys running for $1.30 a mile? They can make them do a couple drop-in hooks on the way out of town, then do some long hauls, and then do a couple more drop-in hooks on their way back in. That's typically how they play that. All right. Someone asked for JFK. There's no way to isolate just JFK in the system. All I can really do is do New York. We'll knock it down to 25 miles just so it centers it there. I can tell you that your airport loads pay better. The reason is they're already putting a lot of money into moving their own planes. The Prime Air, if you guys have ever seen their jets. They're moving stuff back and forth with their own jets. And so they've done this to fulfill orders for overnight. And so at that point, to pay the truck a little bit better to make sure it gets there isn't a problem. An airport like JFK, where the plane definitely, or several planes show up there daily, a lot of those loads are probably under contract, so you may not see them on the load board. I've done a couple airport loads out of Phoenix and out of Sacramento, and what I've kind of learned in my own experience is where you don't have a steady schedule, or even if you have a steady schedule, what shows up on the relay board is what won't be covered by their steady contracts. And so the upside is they usually get paid very well. I want to say from Sacramento to Fresno, which is under 200 miles, we got like $1,200 for a load I did a while back. You do end up sitting quite a bit until they unload the plane, sort the packages, and load them in your truck. But in my case, it was 2 big cardboard boxes that didn't really weigh anything, and I got paid better for those 200 miles than any load I could find going from Sacramento to Southern California. And so to me, it was a no-brainer. I took that load and deadheaded home from Fresno because, you know, the load paid so well. Anyway, so this is kind of what the market looks like within that area. You got 125 miles for 246. That's a box truck. There's 127 miles for 250 a mile. 130 miles for 235. 132 miles for 235. 101 miles for 254. 66 miles for 361. 109 miles for 233. 94 miles for 270. 130 miles for 206. And these are into Friday, guys. 101 miles for 251. 113 miles for 225. 68 miles for 354. 72 miles, for 332. 109 miles for 233. 130 miles for 206. And we're actually into Saturday now. There's definitely a market, and it's slightly better paid. I'm not familiar with the area or where Lancaster, New York is. I don't know if there's parking availability close by where you don't deadhead your truck as much. I'm just not familiar with the market at all. My closest experience with hauling anything out of New York is I went to a recycling center and hauled a bunch of aluminum out of there. Very well paid load, but that's honestly my own experience with that area. And I did not go on the island. Anyways, that's your New York market cut down nice and tight, where it's really just New York by cutting it down to 25 miles. All right, so someone requested Memphis. I'm a fan of the Memphis market. When we were hauling for them, between Memphis, Dallas, Nashville, and even up into Missouri, everything like within a day's drive of Memphis is very well paid. 12 to 1300 bucks would be my minimum. Occasionally we would get 1800. I actually, when Hurricane Laura came through, booked a load knowing I was going to get stopped by the weather, but the load was at 2400 bucks. And so I booked it. I got probably 20 miles up the 40 heading towards Dallas and pulled over at a truck stop. I let Laura pass through. And, you know, obviously I told ROC that, you know, it was unsafe to continue because the hurricane was passing through. They totally understood. They rescheduled my appointment. I didn't get hit with the performance thing, but I made 2400 bucks. Anyway, no matching results for box trucks. And excuse me a sec, guys. I'm gonna clean off my glasses. I got kind of a smudge mark right where the focal point is, and I've been struggling to read the numbers. I'm farsighted, and so I definitely need the glasses to work the phone for this. All right, so starting off, going out to Utah, 1,600 miles. You got 240 per mile. 754 miles for 333 per mile. 503 miles. Again, that's kind of the sweet spot in my opinion. $231 a mile. You got 1,600, almost 1,700 miles on a team. Again, teams just aren't paid as well. For $141. There's another team load at $141. I'm going to move quicker through the teams. I don't really get any comments like you guys are interested in them, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to make the video that much longer for it. So there's 144 for a team, 139 for a team. There's 464 miles at 232. There's 3,900, these are teams, 153. 485 miles at 202. 1,500 miles at 174. 522 miles at 183. 532 miles at 183. There's a team's load for 184, a team load for 180, a team load for 188. There's 818 miles for 181, a team load for 178, a team load for 138, a team load for 185, a team load for 183. There's a 1,600 mile load going to Vegas for 151. With patience, if you wait on this load, I've done this particular load. It's most likely going to be a box full of air conditioning filters. This load should hit the $4,000 mark. I think the last one I did, that's about where we were at, like 4,200, 4,100 bucks. There's 486 miles at $1.90. We're into Thursday, so these rates aren't going to be as good. There's 1,047, a team load for 158. There's 820 for $1.61, a team load for 160. 550 miles for 159. And I think looking at more of these is not going to make a whole lot of sense because you're into Thursday, and you know, we've discussed it. The rates go down, right? And so if you look at these, there's a block. I didn't realize they had blocks out here. So that's not a bad block, guys. In my opinion, you know, you want to make about 1,000 a day. And so these blocks are at 1985, which means by the time they add the fuel surcharge is going to be dependent on which route they give you, how many miles you're going to do. You know, but from there, the block may be, you know, you grab a load locally, you head out towards Dallas, you drop, you grab another trailer and you come back, and you're guaranteed $2,000. Now, in my opinion, it's riskier, but when I bring my own trailer, I usually get going to Dallas back and forth, you know, $1,300 to $1,500, so I can make an extra $1,000. But if you're a local, you know, you live in Memphis, you know, if you guys live in Memphis, you know, Olive Branch is basically on the other side of the state line. You almost can't tell the difference even when you cross the state line, other than there's a scale house there. So MEM6 is a new facility. They just completed that last year. And so if you haul a load out of there, you know, they can send you in any direction that you can get to within a day. You'll drop, you'll do a 10-hour reset, and then you come back. But you'll end up making, you know, $2,000 as a base rate, plus, you know, your fuel surcharge, which could be another couple $100. It's not too bad. And they have a few of them. But as you can see, Fridays is cheaper. It goes down, you know, it goes down just like the other daily stuff does. Anyway, so that's the Memphis area. Before they started doing all the contracts and everything, I was a fan, not just for Amazon, but, and I didn't want to do that. Even in general, getting a load through a broker is easy in that area. There's a lot of freight, and it pays better than, you know, loads coming out of Dallas, even though Dallas has a bunch of containers that come in on a rail. The Dallas market is just way more saturated. All right, and so this is the same person requested Nashville. Let's isolate box trucks, see if they have any, and if they don't, we can quickly move on. Looks like they got 8 results. The first one's on Thursday. 201 miles for 185, 173 miles for 167, 175 miles for 165, 192 miles for 162, 173 miles for 167, 228 miles for 1.84, 173 miles for 167, and 217 miles for 154. And we'll turn off the box truck. All right, so again, the team loads, I'm just going to bark out what they're doing per mile. There's 157 per mile, 135 per mile. Here's a power only at 368 per mile. I'm sorry, 368 miles at 146 per mile. There's another team load for 132. There's a trailer required 597 miles at 181. There's another trailer required. Looks like it's just about the same thing. A team load for 131. A box truck we already covered. There's a block paid even better than Memphis at 2,027. That's a pretty decent rate. And I know I keep saying I could make more money if I wait. The upside to something like this is you book Thursday, you're going to be guaranteed work from Thursday night to Saturday morning. And if they don't use you, you still get paid. And at just over $1,000 a day, plus your fuel surcharge, it's not bad guaranteed money. You know, without being too familiar with Memphis, I'm not sure where they would send you, where you would, you know, run for a day and, you know, basically 2 days. You run a full shift, a 10-hour break, and then another full shift coming back. But that's probably nationwide one of the best paying blocks. A lot of blocks, even like in Southern California, even with as high as our cost of living is, because we're saturated with trucks, the blocks are like $1,400 to $1,600. You know, we truckers just need to be a little bit more patient and let those mature a little bit. There's a team load for 166, more blocks, and as you can see, as the days get older, you know, the block does go down. There's a 175 mile, that's actually a box truck, we already covered it. There's a team load for 189. There's another box truck. There's a block. A team load for 149. Another block. There's a trailer required 250 miles for 271. There's another block, and as you can see, they're going down as the dates get further out. Let that be like the main lesson, guys. Wait to book these things. Be patient. There's a team load for 179. There's a trailer required 1,600 miles going to Utah at $1.51. Going to Utah should be closer to $3, but again, we're talking Friday now, and so that's really close to the. I mean, to look at more of these isn't really fair because it's not going to be the rate that you're going to get. You know, even this block here, you can see it's $690. A one-day block in that market, if you're getting $2,000, a one-day block should be close to $1,000. But that's your Nashville market. That's kind of what I have on the Amazon. Someone requested Uber out of Sacramento. And so we're going to take a look at that. I've become a fan of Uber. Some people criticize them, and I think every broker slash application has its ups and downs. By that I mean, as the market fluctuates, they obviously are in it to make money also. So if the market drops, their rates drop, and then when the market picks up, their rates go up. And so I've seen other YouTubes criticize Uber. I've gotten over $4 a mile, almost $5 a mile out of them in the Midwest and Northeast. It seems like that's where they have like the strongest presence in terms of good paying loads. I've not seen good stuff in Southern California from them, and Northern California can be a little hit and miss. But here we go. There's $6.97 a mile. Obviously, it's a very short trip. 83 miles. There's $6.97 a mile for 83 miles. Again, $6.97 for 83. There's $13.23 per mile for 67 miles. There's $15 a mile for 67 miles. There's $16.66 a mile for 68 miles. There's $2.28 per mile for I'm sorry guys, I'm looking at this wrong. Scratch that. Let's start over. I'm looking at the deadhead miles, not the total miles. And I didn't catch that until I saw the El Paso load. Obviously, in my mind, I know El Paso's more miles. So I'm going to start this over. So this load, the first one is 43 miles at $6.97 per mile. This load is 43 miles at $6.97 per mile. 43 miles at $6.97 per mile. 18 miles at 13.23. There's 18 miles for $15 a mile. There's 19 miles for $16.66 per mile. There's 1,000 miles for $2.28 per mile. There's 19 miles at $11.38 per mile. There's 78 miles at $6.49 per mile. That's actually a pretty decent deal. There's 45 miles at $4.55 per mile. There's 45 miles at $4.33 per mile. There's 64 miles at $5.46 per mile. There's 438 miles at $4.34 per mile. There's 885 miles at $3.72 per mile. That's a good paying load for as many miles as it is. Usually the more miles you get, you don't get that much per mile. That's almost $4 a mile, guys. There's 622 miles at $3.75 per mile. There's 517 miles at $5.41 per mile. There's 506 miles for $5.33. That's also very well paid. There's 1322 miles at $2.96 per mile. This one has multiple stops. This one is biddable. By that, if you don't like this rate, you can submit yours. $13.55 on the miles for $3.11 per mile. There's 1,200 miles at $3.19 per mile. There's 914 miles at $3.49 per mile, and that one is also biddable. There's 80 miles at $4.62 per mile. There's 17 miles at $12.35 per mile. There's 25 miles at $8 per mile. There's 485 miles at $1.46 per mile. Now, the reason you're going to see this one so low, there's a lot of trucks that take loads from Southern California to Northern. For some reason, it pays better going north. And then when you try to come south, that's a cheaper route for some reason. It's a supply and demand thing. I think there's less outbound freight from Sacramento. And so if you're intrastate in California, in other words, you only run inside of our state, you'll find that the loads going south to north pay better. There's more freight leaving Southern California. But then coming south, it's just cheaper. And so for the same amount of miles going up into Oregon, you'll get more than twice the money. This one is biddable. 115 miles for $343. It has multiple stops into the Bay Area. I've never driven into Oakland in a rig. I don't know that I'd want to try. I just never have. I've driven through all of the Bay Area in a car, and I'm not a fan. There's 47 miles at $543 per mile. There's 11 miles at $17.72. 61 miles at $5.33 per mile. 73 miles at $4.38 per mile. There's 79 miles at $3.35 per mile. There's 64 miles at $3.59. There's 64 miles at $3.59. 64 at $3.51. And that's about what your market looks like. I'm going to try and just find the meatier ones. I mean, it's not hard to tell your short hauls are going to pay $200 to $300. So I'm going to try and focus on some better paying ones, because I imagine that's what you guys are looking for. There's 689 miles at 2.28, 689 at 2.24, 689 at 2.17. There's 665 at 2.85. This one's biddable. 313 at 2.37. There's 313 miles at 2.35. I will make this the last one. There's 701 miles at 3.27. Another thing to consider, guys, for those of you that are looking at the California rates, our fuel is well into $4 a gallon here. And so we carry a heavier burden fuel-wise. On average, California is typically $1 more than the national average. So wherever you're fueling, if you're in the South, you're probably better off than most. If you're in South Texas, you're really better off. If you're in the Northeast, you're not too far behind California. Add 75 cents to $1 per gallon, and that's on average what we're paying here in California. It's just the nature of it, and we're not even in the summer blend yet where it's really going to go up. That's just kind of the nature of what's happening with trucking right now. Anyways, guys, this is today's update. Thanks everyone for watching. I really do appreciate all the new subscribers. Have a good day. All right, guys. So the very last section is usually when I kind of go down the different comments and notifications I got. I try and answer questions and stuff like that. New subscribers, thank you guys very much. I really do appreciate it. My channel's kind of growing more than I had originally anticipated. It's almost starting to become like a job. And I feel bad when I don't get videos out to you guys. I really do. And so today's like the second day in a row where I snuck out of the house. I'm in the truck kind of recording a couple of them for you. I get that this is kind of informative and it lets you peek at the market that you otherwise couldn't see. And I'm glad to be able to provide that to you, and any experiences that I may have had or knowledge I could share. Honestly, I I always wish I had mentors when I first got into the trucking business. I got mentored in business in general by the business owners that I worked for. I was very fortunate to work for companies where the owners shared, the do's and don'ts and the whys. They didn't always open up the books and say, look, this is how much we're making, but I had two very good mentors in business, and I'll name them. One of them is Don Ahern with Ahern Rentals. That's one of the companies I worked for. They're now the largest independently owned rental company in North America. I still have a great relationship with Don. It's not like I go jump in his jet and we go out and fly out somewhere to have steaks, but I have been in his jet before, and every time I run into the man, he greets me with a big old hug. How you been, buddy? And he kind of hints at, there's always a home for me there at Ahern. Great company, great people. I learned a lot. The company gave me a lot of opportunities to do things I never had done before. The other outfit was a company called Rolled Scaffold out of Southern California. They at one point grew to a little over 1,000 pieces of equipment, and I started with them when they were still in a backyard. The owner, Mike Rolls over there, very intelligent guy, has a degree in finance and business. The guy knows how to make a dollar work, and the dollar doesn't even know it's working. Learned a lot from those two men, very good mentors. I'm privileged to have spent time in their employ. I feel like they're proud of me and what I'm doing now, at least when I run into them. I think they're both happy I'm not in the equipment business anymore, but I was really lucky, and likewise, if I can share and pass on information to others, I'm glad to do it. And so that's kind of replying to Curtis. He's thanking me for sharing my knowledge. I covered Nashville and Memphis today for you. Yes, you're welcome. The JFK, I did that. Hopefully that works for you. New subscriber, thank you very much. What's happening, the one? Hope things are well, my brother. What about Cincinnati? I did that today for you. Hopefully that answers some questions for you. I do feel like having your own trailer is a benefit, because if you do power only and you take a longer haul, let's say you go into a market where Amazon doesn't have something for you to return, you can jump on a load board and grab something better. Or you may end up like me, where you just start realizing it's far easier to book a load, for next Tuesday, and you book a load for Friday that's going to get you into that market. And so you sleep well knowing you have the work, versus with Amazon, to get good rates, like I keep saying, you have to book the loads like within 6 hours. And so once I get the trucks running, I know where everybody's going to be for the next week, and the loads are paid better. And it's easier to do when you have your own trailer versus power only. John, you're welcome. I don't have much experience in the Motor City. I hauled a load not from Amazon out of there once. People always told me, "Oh man, don't go to Detroit. Your traffic there is horrible." I didn't think it was that bad, personally. But I'm from Southern California, so to me it worked out. The shipper was really friendly, really attentive. They got me in and out quick. I enjoyed my trip out that way. Let's see. Many people are enjoying the content. I like to think so. Uber isn't bad, and car hauling isn't bad, H-Haul. Car haulers, once you establish yourself like a base of clients and they keep you busy because they know what to expect from you, it's like anything else. I have a couple brokers that have loads regularly coming from like Ohio down to the south, and they now call me and say, "Miguel, when are you going to be back in Ohio? I got a load for you. It's paying, $4.90 a mile." And then I'm like, "Bro, I'm on your load now. I'm still heading south. I got to find a load coming north." And the reply I got kind of surprised me. okay, so you could come back and be here to load Saturday? And I'm like, you can hold the load till Saturday for me? Yes. I want you to take this load. Okay, I'll figure out how to get back up there for $5 a mile. Yes, sir. And so, likewise with cars, the same thing kind of happens, especially when you start getting tied up with dealers. I'm not trying to shy you away from that business. There's some car haulers that do really, really well. It depends on your market and your business model, how you treat your clients, how your service is, and everything else. Adrian, thank you for the compliment, brother. I try, and I'm not gonna lie. I've had life, kick me in the teeth and kick me in the soft spot, more than once. When the housing market collapsed, my equipment rental business, we were in deep trouble really, really quick. We had like $40,000 a month we had to come up with in payments on the equipment, and I was lucky that I had enough equipment paid off that we were able to sell some packages and pay those leases off. Otherwise, that business would have gone bankrupt. I ended up selling my portion back to the business partner I had with it, and that was the money I used for the trucking business. It worked out great for me. Kumar, I'm not really sure if I pronounce your name there correctly, but I appreciate the love, brother. You're always giving me positive comments, positive feedback. That's awesome. Thank you. H Hall, yeah, like I said earlier, it is growing fast, and I hope I can keep it under control in a way that I'm still giving everybody what they want, and not not making the video kind of flounder. I feel like sooner or later, just showing the load board for Amazon is going to get boring, and some of you guys are going to go away. And so I do try to throw in other stuff, like yesterday's video. I'm doing a little bit of follow-up to that one as well, where I kind of discuss the pro act and renting equipment versus owning equipment. I go a little deeper into that topic. But yeah, I'm always down to share stuff, and I appreciate you guys commenting stuff. There's been a couple comments that have been, eye-openers for me as well. 24-foot box truck doesn't exist, BST BZ. It doesn't exist on the load board. They're 26-foot that they request, but the reality is, because the pallets are typically 4x4, a 24-foot box truck will work, at least according to people that are on the different Facebook groups. There's some of them that are running the 24s with the lift gate, and that functions well. Tommy was actually one of my first subscribers. Good to see you in here commenting, bro. I liked your last video. Sometimes we do have to put it the way it is and share the truth. Unfortunately, a lot of YouTubers, only try to paint the roses part of it, and they're showing the stacks of money they're taking to the bank. I always tell people that business is kind of like you're filling up a barrel, and I don't say it just because I come from oil field, but I always say, picture you got like a 2-inch hose filling up that barrel, but you got a 1-inch hole in the bottom. As you're filling, it's emptying, and the key is to manage, where one doesn't run away from the other. But that's kind of the nature of it. I think these comments I touched on my last video. Nick, I wasn't really sure what you meant about what about box trucks, because I'm covering box trucks along with everything else in the same market. So if I open up Los Angeles, I'm covering all of it: power only, trailer required, and box truck. And so if you don't see box truck, it's because there were no loads there. That's the thing to consider. Box trucks are not as big a market as the semi trucks. And so to give you guys an example, if there's 3,000 loads on the Amazon Relay, if you have 3,000 loads available, maybe 300 of them are going to be box truck. In fact, I can demonstrate that now. I just blurted out the number. if we switch this anywhere to anywhere, that should show everything. Let me make sure I don't have another filter on. This will be the last of it, guys. I'll just show this as an example, and we'll wrap it up. The video's already going to be long. The videos are getting longer because I have more viewers and they're requesting more markets. That's just kind of the nature of it. And so let's look at 53-foot trailer. Well, let's look at it blank as it is. So there's a total of 3,000 loads if we do power only, blocks, box trucks, and everything else. So if we look at just box truck, there's 265 available. And so with that being said, your percentage of work availability is very minimal. The other thing you have to consider is once Amazon has a company that shows they do a really good job out of a specific domain or domicile, as they call it. So let's just say, I keep saying Phoenix is not a good market for box trucks. There may be work there for 5 trucks, but a year ago, one company might have really stood out and just always been Johnny on the spot. These managers of these locations run those numbers, they run reports, and if that company had really good performance and they focused all their 5 trucks out of that one place, that manager may have reached out to them and offered them a dedicated route system. And what we see on the load board is overflow that company's 5 trucks cannot handle. And so that happens with relay across the board. And maybe I should make that a topic of another video. So there's a lot of companies that have long-term contracts. Typically, it's for the whole year. And an example of that would be a guy with a channel named Trucker Style. All right, guys, sorry about the interruption there. My banker called. So, yeah, I always take his call. Anyway, so Trucker Style Sean is an example of someone that has what they call tendered loads. So he has routes that he has bid on, and he picks from a list of loads that are available on any given day, and his trucks run those loads. He doesn't work the relay board like we do. He can, but there's a lot of markets where, some of you guys may say, oh, there's a ton of box trucks here. I drove by this facility and there's 10 trucks sitting there. And then you ask someone like me to look at the load board and it shows nothing available. That's because those may be under contract. So getting a contract is not easy. Getting a contract, it goes back to that question of, do you need 3 trucks or more? To get a contract, you do need 3 trucks or more. And you need to impress someone. It's almost like you need to work the same location over and over and over aggressively. In my case, because we're in the Permian Basin, West Texas, the closest location to us is under construction in El Paso. And so, our closest loads for Amazon would come out of Tucson, Phoenix, Dallas, San Antonio. Everything else just wasn't close to us. And so we typically would get, a load board load out of West Texas into one of those cities, and then we would jump on some Amazon loads and so on and so on. But for those of you that think the market is more than what it is, I wanted to show you how few available loads there are. And, it's volatile because a lot of those are overflow that they don't have covered under a contract. Anyways, this video's already gotten long. They're getting longer and longer because there's more stuff we're trying to cover, more markets and everything else. But as always, thanks for watching. Appreciate all the new subscribers. Channel's growing. I'm digging on that. Hopefully I can start trying to keep up and do more daily videos where I don't have to cover as much markets in one video, and that'll shorten them up some. Anyways, thanks again.